we're going to do in this module is we're going to look at the biology of stress and health, and then we're going to look at some emotional reactions in the brain. We'll be looking at attack behaviors and anxiety behaviors. We'll also look at more of the regulators of positive emotions and negative emotions. So let's get started. We've got stress and health. So first of all, we want to define what is stress. And Hans Selye, he defined stress as a non-specific response of the body to any demand that's made upon it. So basically, stress a lot of times is just defined as a reaction to change, that when we're asked to change, that causes our body to have to adapt. So threats on the body activate a general response to stress called the genral adaptation syndrome. There's an interesting story about Hans Selye. This is how the story goes, is when he was a graduate student, he was looking for something to study, but he had a hard time with rats. He didn't work well with rats, but yet rats were what was used to study a lot of things. And so a laboratory down the hallway had just isolated a hormone, a pancreatic hormone from cows, and they were testing the effects of this hormone on the stress system. So he started he went down to the other lab and got this hormone, and he started injecting the rats with the hormone. But he, like I said, he didn't work well with rats. He didn't really like them. He was kind of scared of them, and so he would drop them. He would pick them up by their tail, and he would let them fall. And you could just, if you've ever seen somebody that doesn't work well with animals, they've got a whole energy about them that makes the animals all nervous. And so sure enough, he started working with the rats, and like I said, he wasn't good with them. He wasn't calm with them. He had lots of problems with them, very stressed in their presence. And so at the end of the study, he found out, sure enough, that there was lots of indication that this hormone was related to the stress response. They had an enlarged heart because the heart was working so much. They had a lot of adrenal atrophy because the adrenal glands had been overworked, and so on and so forth. And so he wanted to write up, yes, this hormone is definitely related to stress. But then what he did was he did a control, and sure enough, he found that when he did a control that wasn't exposed to this hormone, they still had the same responses. And so someone came in and they said, well, look at the way that you're handling these rats. Any rat would be stressed out with the way that you're handling them. And so sure enough, they looked at if you had more of a calm person with more touching of the rats and so on and so forth, would there be less stressors to the rats' bodies than the way that someone handled it. And so actually, this is one of the ways that he came up with this whole general adaptation syndrome, was because he himself was not very good at dealing with the rats. He was scared of them and caused them all kinds of stress. Let's look at this general adaptation syndrome. So the general adaptation syndrome, what you have is you have an alarm stage. So when we are first asked to change, first asked to adapt to new burdens placed on us, new jobs placed on us, then we start to feel the stress. Like at the beginning of the semester, you probably felt some stress. You had to adapt. You had lots more things that you had to contend with. But then in the middle of the semester, you probably went into the resistance stage. And the resistance stage is the sympathetic response declines. So what we're going to be looking at within the next section of this whole module is we're going to be looking at the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And when we get stressed out, our sympathetic nervous system is working at a high rate. So in the very beginning, your sympathetic nervous system starts to react to the added stressors that are placed upon you. But then as you adapt to this new stressors, these new things that are placed on you, you no longer feel the stress. Your body's working at a higher rate, but you no longer feel it. So the sympathetic response declines. The adrenal cortex releases cortisol and other hormones that enable the body to maintain your prolonged alertness. So like by the middle of the semester, you'll see that students seem kind of, oh, I can handle this. It's not so bad. Maybe even just like a tiny bit bored. But now we're getting to the end of the semester. And at the end of the semester, this is when you see a lot of students getting very stressed out. You see a lot of emotional reactions. You see a lot of illnesses. You got sickness, headaches, lots of exhaustion. Because at the end of the semester, all of a sudden there's a big push, like, oh my gosh, what do I have to do in order to get the best grade that I can in this class? Oh, all these teachers are making me do papers now. Oh, you've got all these cumulative finals. Everything's coming down on me at once. And so what happens is your body goes into a state of exhaustion because it's already functioning at a higher level. But then after when you push it even more, then what happens is the body just says, I can't handle this anymore. And so the exhaustion stage occurs after prolonged stress and is characterized by inactivity or vulnerability and decreased energy to sustain a heightened response. So the words in red are kind of my words here, and whereas the words in black are more from the textbook. So the alarm stage is you're initially feeling the new stressors. Then the resistance stage is your body adapted to the stress. You no longer feel it. But then the exhaustion stage is the body breaks down as a result of stress. So hopefully you were able to take notes while I was talking on that. And we're going to be looking at what happens when the body breaks down.